The failure to act with sufficient ambition to avert the climate catastrophe will be the greatest moral failure of our time.
Making changes takes courage, and if we don't change things, we won't have a future.
We need a president who respects science, who understands that the damage from climate change is already here.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. Change is coming, whether you like it or not.
Zero Carbon
Easter. Hello and welcome to Zero Carbon Easter, Series 2, The Manifesto. I'm Ian Collins. Now, this is the podcast that eases its way through the green agenda and hopefully from time to time lands that killer punch onto the pompous noses of our politicians, for it is they who should be prioritising the very things we talk about every week here. For those unaware of the brief, the man at the wheel on each episode is the entrepreneur and environmentalist Dale Vince. He's the owner of Ecotricity, the world's first green energy company. In his other guise, he's the chairman of Forest Green Rovers. Dale, morning.
Yeah, morning, Ian. I just want to say your intro made me think that the politicians should actually be prioritising what they talk about every week these days, which is green stuff.
Yeah, well, let's start on that point.
I have one final announcement that exemplifies the future economy. A policy on a scale we've never done before. A policy to bring investment, trade, and most importantly, jobs right across this country. To replace the industries of the past with green, innovative, fast-growing new businesses.
Well, there you go, Dale. Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. You've been insisting the government go more green and they hit targets and, well, Rishi's done it. The rabbit is out the bag. Job done.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Nails it. There is nothing to see here. There's nothing on green stuff. There's just nothing. It's incredible.
I actually thought it was going to be, I was watching the budget because I was covering the budget and I thought, I know what he's doing here. He's going to do all the kind of little stuff first, and then at least 50% of this budget will be dedicated solely to either environmental issues or issues that touch significantly on the environmental agenda. I thought that's how it was going to play.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it was a massive opportunity to not just touch on the environment agenda, but the economic one as well, to stimulate the green economy, create jobs and industries and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's what budgets are usually for,
sure,
apart from increasing taxes and stuff like that. And what we got was a lame announcement of some kind of eco bond scheme. We did that 10 years ago, and there's no shortage of money for green projects that make money. What's missing is government support to help green businesses and green projects actually compete better. At the moment, the government have put the brakes on through like VAT on solar panels and electric cars and stuff like that. So what was missing was a stimulus for the green economy, which will create jobs and raise the tax base and do all those good things. Instead, we just got this vague, we're going to create a savings scheme for people, green bond kind of declaration. And at the same time, massive tax cuts for big corporations. This super deduction, I think Rishi called it, souped up tax allowances, basically, if you invest in plant and equipment. Yeah. But small and medium-sized businesses are completely excluded. It's only for the big boys. A number of tax experts have in the last day or so said that they think people like Amazon, for example, will now pay no tax at all. They didn't pay very much before anyway, but they'll now pay none. BT will pay no tax because it's investing in broadband. And there are all sorts of big companies out there that are investing in stuff anyway, which is suddenly now going to qualify for this souped-up tax allowance, which is madness. It's going to cost $25 billion. And, and in contrast, there's nothing for the green economy.
Yeah, it was quite extraordinary. I just kept waiting, thinking, I said to my colleague on the radio, in a minute, he's going to get to the green stuff. He's just building up to this. Right. There was kind of a vague reference. I think the word green was said a couple of times. And I thought, okay, is that it?
I know, and it's weird. And you see headlines in newspapers saying Boris Johnson's green industrial revolution gets the go-ahead, like from the budget. And I'm thinking, did I miss something? And I'm starting to think this morning that we need to rename this for Boris. This is Boris Johnson's green industrial illusion, because nothing's happening here. He's like the Wizard of Oz, He talks a good game, but nothing's happening.
Well, everything you're saying there goes against our first question from Chris on Twitter, who says, Dale Vince is a New World Order stooge who's revealed his true colours. Daily Express, Amazon, now Netflix. You don't fool me, says Chris.
Yeah, I think Chris is being ironic, and I appreciate the humour of that. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty of people that do kind of, we talked about it the other day, didn't we? The World Economic Forum. And I don't know how often you're down there skiing in Davos, Dale, but, supposedly that's where all the big decisions are cooked up. And some would say you're part of it.
Yeah, they would. I know. What can I say?
Let,
Speechless.
let's move to this. Goes to the center of the very things we talk about. Eating meat raises the risk of heart disease, diabetes, pneumonia. I mean, this won't be new news to you and to many out there, I guess.
No, it's not new news, but it's a new study, and it's based on the medical records of about 500,000 people looking at increased risks. And there are apparently 25 ailments that hospitalize most people, serious illnesses such as heart disease and all kinds of things. Non-cancerous, there are 25 of them. And in 9 of them, these guys found an increased risk from eating meat of all kinds, not just red meat, which often gets singled out, but chicken as well. And I think they found that a mere 60 grams a day of meat will give you a 15% increase chance of heart disease, for example, or some other bad stuff. Like I say, 9 bad things that are not cancer. I mean, it's already linked to cancer, of course. That's
sure.
That's long standing. But now we've got a whole bunch of other stuff that meat is causing, and I think, wow, how much more evidence do we need, guys? And yet you've got the food lobby off the back of that. Jumping onto the same story, saying, yeah, it's okay as long as it's part of a varied diet and we eat whole grains and fruits as well. And I think, yeah, that sounds like a great diet, but why go and pollute it with 60 grams of red meat, which they recommend? And I'm like, come on, guys, wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah. Boris Johnson has this problem.
Hi folks, I've been doing a lot, in fact everything I can, to lose weight and to feel fitter and healthier. And what I've been doing is I've been eating less carbs, avoiding chocolate, no more late night cheese, all that kind of thing. I've been getting up early to go for runs, and the result is, I actually have lost some weight.
So there you go. Cheese, Dale, is the big problem here.
Oh, well, I mean, that's interesting because cheese is the Achilles heel of a lot of people that actually want to go vegan. They get so far, they can give up meat and fish and stuff like that. And they say, but, I really love cheese, My good friend Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd, he's a big cheese fan. I think Jon Snow has said the same to me before as well. It's the one thing that he struggles with. It used to be bacon sandwiches for most people. They say, "Oh, I'd give up meat except bacon sandwiches. I love them." Now it's cheese more likely.
Yeah, I think cheese gets them. Here's a question sent to zerocarbonista at ecotricity.co.uk from Jeremy, your Portland admirer. Jeremy just sent a question in before, of course. Says, Dale, I heard lots about solar energy never being cheaper and easier to get, but I'm being prevented from installing it in my home in one of America's most progressive states. Shouldn't it be easier for those of us who want renewable energy to get it?
Yeah, it totally should. And, it's part of the focus of our Zero for Zero campaign, really. It's one of the big examples we've highlighted. There's VAT of 20% on solar panels to put on your house. But if you want to burn coal, you'll just pay 5% VAT, which is climate madness. One is the highest carbon form of energy we know of, coal, and the other is zero carbon. But the tax doesn't follow the logic.
Sure. Let's move to this story. Big headline screaming out at The Guardian this week. The climate crisis can't be solved by carbon accounting tricks. Suggestion here, there's some tomfoolery going on.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I think that's axiomatic. The idea that we can't solve climate change or the climate crisis with accounting tricks. Surely that's a given. But I think the headline is just a teaser to the piece itself, which calls out the 2 or 3 different ways that major companies are abusing carbon accounting, the ideas of zero or net zero and offsetting notional emissions. I think there's one example there of a company. It's an investment fund led by Mark Carney, ex-governor of the Bank of England, and they have a massive investment in fossil fuels. And he says, that's okay, we're zero carbon because we also have a massive investment in renewable energy, and that's zero carbon. And if it wasn't in the world, there would have been carbon coming from that. That's the idea of notional emissions, that there would have been emissions if you hadn't built a windmill. And it's all kinds of wrong. So, I mean, offsetting has been a problem since offsetting was invented. It's always been a problem. It's intrinsically, inherently worrisome. But the way the Climate Change Committee have it set out in their most recent report for us as a country is that we get to near zero carbon emissions doing all the important big stuff that we can. And for the irreducible part, maybe it's 5% of national emissions, we do indigenous carbon offsetting through rewilding. And that is a perfect example of how offsetting and how we can get to net zero, how that works properly.
Here's a question from Jay, and it ties in with, I think, the question last week from Jeremy when we were saying, is there an American Dale Vince out there? Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. He's found one, is he?
Yeah, he says, I know an American Dale Vince. He's called Rob Greenfield. Well, I mean, that couldn't be more apt, could it, in terms of a name? Mr. Greenfield. He's a huge, is that his real name? He's a huge inspiration on the food and environmental thing. I'm a big fan of the show. I've got my business to zero carbon to keep on inspiring.
Well, that's
Rob
good.
Greenfield.
Yeah, well, that's good work getting to zero carbon with your business in any event. And yeah, maybe we need to get Rob on one day.
I was just thinking that. I can't believe he's called Group. There's a name for that, isn't there? When your name reflects your profession.
Is there?
Nominative something or other.
All right. That's how names were derived originally.
If your name is Bob Chimney Sweep,
yeah.
and you sweep chimneys,
right.
That's that kind of thing. Extreme example, obviously. Here's something we've talked about, and here's the official trailer.
My name is Ali. I've been fascinated with the ocean for as long as I can remember. But this romantic vision that I always had of the ocean completely changed. I was forced to confront a side of the story I never knew, a story of just how huge our impact on the seas had become.
Where are the big environment groups? They are deliberately not engaging with the most important issue of all.
Can you turn off the cameras? Thanks.
Would you say there's any safety concerns for me making this film?
Leave it alone.
Most of the positive and negative things that bring about change in human civilization start with someone. Someone.
Well, what about this stuff? Fill in the blanks here for those who don't know. That's a trailer for a new Netflix show called Seaspiracy. What's the deal, Dale, and what's your connection?
Yeah, this is brought to the world by the people that made Cowspiracy quite a while ago now, which had a big impact on a lot of people in terms of opening their eyes to the intensive animal agriculture industry, the abuse of factory farming. And we spoke to them about 5 years ago, the makers of this film, and they said they wanted to do a follow-up that was focused on the oceans, which I thought was super important. I mean, what we're doing out there is just incredible. It's crazy. We're eating our way to extinction with industrial fishing and just some incredible abuse of sentient creatures. So yeah, we said, yeah, let's help fund this film. Let's get it going. And then didn't hear from them for the last couple of years, actually. And I kind of forgot even that I hadn't even heard from them. And then they came back and said, we've done it, ta-da! And Netflix want it, and it's going to reach an enormous audience. And well, I'm super chuffed.
Yeah, I bet. This in from Sean. I'd buy a coffee shirt if you made them. He's referencing, of course, the story from last week. Well, it's ongoing now. Forest Green Rovers' new strip will be made of coffee.
It's coming. We're definitely doing it. And we've had a few people approach us and say, do you make cycling kit? Do you make other kinds of sportswear out of this coffee material? Because I'd love to have some. So we're looking at that as well with our shirt partner, Player Layer. And I think we're going to see if we cannot produce a wider range of sportswear than just a football shirt.
Fantastic. Sticking with the football theme, Bjorn on Twitter, regular listener from Sweden. Do you think fans will be allowed into Forest Green Rovers next season?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Not this season, definitely. Yeah. I'm equally clear on that, but next season, yes.
Yeah, I think it would be extraordinary, wouldn't it, if we had to go another football season without fans in the grounds?
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. All the signs are good. The R rate is down. Vaccines are in the world. We've got quite a few million people here vaccinated already. I mean, our season will probably start in August. That's a normal month for it. And by then, we're just going to be in a very different country in a way. Maybe I just call it a very different place.
A very different place indeed. And just a final one here. This comes in from Lee on Facebook. My 9-year-old and 12-year-old both want to do something to help fight climate change. We're recycling more, eating meat much less. What else can I get them to do? Something that makes them feel like they're actually helping. I think kids are really quite good at this stuff.
Yeah, totally.
I think they digest this far better than adults, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think kids approach stuff without baggage, don't they? Without history, and they can see the kind of obvious truth in things that as adults we tend to kind of try to deny for some reason or another, usually because of ingrained habit, and we think, oh no, that can't be wrong. I've been doing it all my life. But look, I gave this a little quick bit of thought, and I thought actually the best thing to do is for the kids to talk to their friends. Influence their peer groups. I've seen my boys do it, and it works. And what we have to do, the most important thing, which is what I do, is communicate to other people, share with them the things that you do and the reason that you do them, and just show them it's for them as well. So persuade other people, I would say, is the thing.
Yeah. And I think that always the argument of nothing to lose, really. I mean, it doesn't take. I always think the greatest recycling example, when people go, I don't know what recycle is, milk bottles. I think we've mentioned this before. And years ago, we've been recycling milk bottles for decades, and nobody called it recycling. It would have been unthinkable for anyone to throw out a milk bottle.
Well, it was reusing, wasn't it? It was better than recycling.
Yeah, that's true.
They went back and got washed.
Correct. That's it for this episode. Cheers, Dale. Have a cracking week, and we'll speak next Friday.
That's brilliant. Ian, I've got one postscript, if possible. There's if there's room for it. There's a story out this week that links Seaspiracy and Mark Carney and this idea of dodgy carbon accounting.
Go on, I like it.
Okay, and it's another study out this week that shows that Britain, in the last 20, 30 years, has lost 90% of its seagrass. So this is stuff that grows on the floor of the sea, as you might imagine.
And quite crucial as well to the ecosystem there.
Oh, it's a really big deal. But, we've lost 90%, so we've barely got any left. But what researchers have found is that this stuff grows really quickly. It can lock up carbon for thousands of years. It provides a vital habitat for marine life as well. And it looks like it's a sea-based alternative to land-based rewilding and carbon absorption and offsettings. Wow. It looks like we can rewild the seas around our coast and absorb carbon at the same time as bring back wildlife, which is a fantastic opportunity. We're diving in to take a look at it now. Oops, no pun intended.
You did it. You went there.
I didn't mean it.
We'll speak next week, Dale.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Ian.
Don't forget you can subscribe for free from your podcast provider to this program. That means you get each new episode automatically. Really important to leave a review there as well. Just a sentence or two. If you're a regular listener, you might want to email your comments and questions as well. You can do that, zerocarbonista@ecotricity.co.uk. And the really important bit, follow Dale on social media if you're not already. That's twitter.com/DaleVince, facebook.com/DaleVince. We'll speak in a week.
Zero Carbon
East of